Hi, this is John Reed. On Monday, October 5th, SAP launched an ambitious SAP Connect for the first time, co-locating a bunch of line of business events, including some new ones. And there was an opening keynote, and I hosted a watch party for that event, online live review, which included Josh Greenbaum and Bonnie Duncan-Tinder. And then later, Thomas Weber Knight joined us for a wrap of the keynote. I thought it would be interesting to compile our pregame and postgame into a selected audio file for those of you who weren't able to attend the event and may not want to watch the entire keynote. Maybe you've watched it already on your own. There is on LinkedIn a complete review of the entire keynote live, along with the keynote replay in the background. I will put a link to that in the podcast description. This is just the pre and postgame. And I should also note, I was having an echo problem in my environment. And when you're doing these kinds of things, you really don't want to use a Bluetooth headset, but that was my backup. So that's what I did. And in fact, it's kind of ironic because at one point I'm asking Thomas about his audio, but it turns out when you hear the replay, my audio is by far the worst. And believe me, that irony is not lost on me. The learning curve can still be steep at times, but I do think it's quite listenable despite that, and it's not the longest podcast as well, and many other people are talking besides me. So anyhow, I hope you enjoy it, and I've learned a couple lessons that should help me to improve my audio in the future in these events. So thank you. Take care.
And we are live. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Johnny, and Bosch, Bonnie and Josh.
Yeah, come on, get that right. It's still afternoon. We're stone sober here. Hey, John and Bonnie, could see you both.
You too.
So we are gathered here together. We are in the SAP Connect, the keynote launch of the first ever SAP Connect. We have the sound muted. Unfortunately, they did not accept my playlist once again. But hey, no vendor has, so I'm not going to give SAP a hard time about that. Anyhow, so this is the first ever event that has brought all these lines of businesses together, and we are here. And we just had a very vigorous day of analyst discussions, and a lot of those were open. Also, most of the news discussed in the keynote has been released, so you can go to the SAP newsroom and check it out if you want. And it looks like they're still showing some promo, so they haven't started yet. Mm-hmm. Shall we share a few expectations? How about that? Bonnie, what are you hoping to hear? What are you dreading to hear? What are you expecting? Tee us up.
Yeah. Well, I think what I'm listening for most is how SAP plans to operationalize this agentic AI through the Joule agents across the suite, not just in the demos, not just in scenarios, but as live embedded capabilities in the customer environments. And I think a real proof point is going to be some of the customers that they have, up on stage and demonstrating how they're using these products in action. So I would say that that's what I'm listening for most. What I am dreading most is buzzwords or scenarios that are lofty in concept and light in practice.
Well said. Josh, what about you?
Well, I mean, proof is in the pudding, as it were, and this is really, the big moment for SAP to start talking, the talk in terms of end-to-end process excellence and, suite first, and how they come together, particularly for an audience they haven't traditionally been that connected to, or historically that been connected to, which is the line of business stakeholder. So I'm looking forward to hearing again how that gets operationalized. I'm wondering if they dare talk about Rise and Grow. That's maybe not something they want to do, but they're going to do anyway. I think the other thing I'm sort of wondering is how much are they going to hit on the idea that, hey guys, the clock is ticking in terms of migration. That's a big theme in most other venues. Will it be one here? It's not really appropriate necessarily for this audience, but they may get around to talking about it because it's definitely relevant overall.
So I think the show's going to be starting soon, from what I can see. But I'll share a few thoughts. I thought it was interesting. I know that SAP wants to put a big stake in the ground around its agentic solutions, and they want to do it in a way that makes clear that it's humans interacting with agents for the betterment of all and all of that. What I'm hoping though is that they stay true to the message of this event, which is that these end-to-end conversations are so important, right? And SAP's customers are struggling with their own customer experiences. They're trying to interface with customers in new ways. Josh, we keep coming back to the "where's my stuff" question, right? Like,
The ultimate enterprise question: where's my
yeah,
stuff?
not to mention like global instability that causes supply chains to be so disruptive and hard to manage. And we just need a different way of adapting to all of that. And so, but we're not used to talking with each other like that. Like at this event, these are audiences that used to come into separate events. And to some extent, the same is true inside of SAP, and they have talked about how they're changing. And so what I'm going to be looking for is the change, and then I'll be really interested to see how customers respond to this new way of thinking as well. So I'm honestly more interested about that, because I think if you can't get that right, then I don't think AI can come in and help you. Like, you have to have this kind of process thinking in place, and then maybe we can talk about some AI stuff helping too. So anyway, that's what I feel. So
I think at the end of the day, enterprise software for the length of our careers has been sold as a silo and consumed as a silo. We're here to maybe bust some of those silos. That's what I'm looking forward to.
All right, so we're about to do a sound check, folks, and then we will get this going. Feel free to show up on the comments as you see fit. Thomas, I'm sorry about the hotel Wi-Fi. Hopefully we will hold up well enough on our stream. And I'm going in with the keynote volume now.
Impressive with everybody. GPS, a flat.
How about that? All right, let's do a little breakdown. Thomas, I'm a little concerned about your audio. Can we do a quick audio check?
Check.
Oh, that's not too bad.
These MacBook microphones aren't what they used to be.
No. It's good enough for our purposes. All right. Sherry Ann says, I think the word connected fits SAP's model better than seamless. I would agree. And she says seamless and unparalleled. Yeah, there you go. Look, I don't mind seamless as aspirational. I was just saying it got used a lot during this keynote. And if SAP wants to aspire to providing seamless experiences, I have no problem with that. That word just happens to be on my list of top 10 most hated enterprise buzzwords of all time. So that's a thing. Yeah, anyway, so let's do a little bit of a debrief here. Now, one thing I just want to say for those that are watching this is that this is really the beginning of the show for most people. And so the real meat's going to happen in the next couple of days. So we kind of have to take that into account. There's a bunch of different specialized keynotes still to come, and another bigger keynote on the business suite. So with that in mind, what did you think of this as sort of a launch event?
I'll go first. I'm impressed. I think it's a good start. I think, like I said, I would have maybe started with the business story and not the tech story, and sort of lead the audience with that. But I think overall, the customer we just heard was great. Some of the demos were really good. We can argue about, whether, Dominic and my colleague from Berkeley were a great pairing or not, but I thought it was actually pretty strong. Definitely, Mohammed's a good presenter. He's very, very credible. I think that's really a big part of this. And I think that, I think it shows, I think it was great, honestly. That's not easy for me to say, that.
Yeah, I would agree. And, the whole name of this week is called SAP Connect, right? So I think it was appropriately titled. Main themes that I heard, this whole idea of breaking down silos to unlock value across the organization, and one flywheel, not 15. We heard the flywheel metaphor used a ton at Sapphire. And I think what is really being, I think, emphasized here is, in order to have the flywheel work, it needs to be all hands on deck. It can't be every function having their own flywheel. And in order, to be customer centric and to really unlock the power of AI, it requires that you have all the different business function working together. So, I mean, again, those are like the themes that I heard. I thought the customer case study or testimonial that was on stage today was really, really good. That healthcare organization, and I hope we see more of that throughout this week.
Yeah. Pretty much fully agree. So the customer testimonial, that was extremely strong, just because they came from a business perspective and didn't talk about SAP products. They talked about the way they solved their business challenges. And by inference, that goes to SAP, because I mean, this is not an Oracle event or whatever. Yeah? So that credit directly goes to SAP, and doing it that way is extremely strong. Mohammed is authentic. I can't say it another way. So he comes across extremely authentic. I wouldn't argue with Josh if he says that the CFO and Berkeley pairing was less than optimal. So I think they could have used the professor's expertise far better. Because initially this just appeared like she's throwing him balls. And it should have been the other way around. And that got stronger over the course of the discussion, but they could have taken more advantage of the vast expertise that they brought on stage. This was one of the better keynotes, one of the best keynotes I've seen in the past 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, look, I don't say very many nice things about keynotes, but I thought this was actually extremely strong. I don't think vendors deserve to be nailed down just by their keynotes, but they do set an important tone. And I think one of my big concerns before this show was that it would really be a series of separate shows under one roof. And what I thought they did accomplish today was really pushing the boundaries of how these line of business leaders should be talking to each other. Now, whether customers can replicate that on the ground is an open question, but I like that SAP pushed that, because a lot of these customers will go on their tracks the next day or two. Will they have the kind of conversations that we saw on stage? One would hope that they would. The thing that I would like to say that I think I worry about a little bit is that with so much emphasis on agentic visions and the strategy and the flywheel and all of that, which all makes sense, how do customers that are on older releases or using just a small part of the portfolio really start to see some action around these concepts? And I think one of the things SAP struggles with the most are small iterative steps that make a difference. Josh has heard me hit on the small wins thing a lot, but you kind of need that in today's environment. And so I'd like to see more from SAP on that. They do have some potential answers there in terms of things like the so-called intelligent apps or whatever they're calling them now out of BDC. But the point is, how do you kind of make this happen for all customers, no matter what release they're on, give them access to cool stuff? And because ultimately, if you want to be a strategic innovation partner, I think you need to make it seem like you don't have to upgrade your ERP and move to new data platforms in order to start taking advantage of this vision. So I think that's really, really important. And also just that some of today's software is really good, and we lose track of that with all the agentic stuff. It almost makes it seem like the software you're using today is not any good. But a lot of times it's really good, and you just need to get some tips on how to better use it and better inspire change inside your organization. So I get kind of frustrated with the SaaS is dead thing sometimes when the agentic stuff's not there yet, and the SaaS stuff is underutilized compared to what it could be. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see if SAP can, capture that balance in the next couple of days. But I got to say, this was a very, very strong start, despite some of the snark we threw at SAP during the discussion today.
Snark with love. I mean, honestly, I'm sorry. The Ariba thing, I no mercy there. We have suffered through the Ariba user experience upgrade promise for how long, John? Honestly, so
been a while.
I think it's about 6 Ariba heads ago. Seriously,
the play waiting for Godot comes to mind. Not everyone will get that reference, but you can look it up.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think snark aside, it was really one of the. I think Thomas, you said that it's a very very strong keynote, a really good start. And again, I think it's you see a lot of. I think you honestly see a lot of Mohammed's leadership in making this a strong. He walked into the analyst meeting today, and not just an extremely disarmingly nice guy, but he also said, I'm here to hear what you have to say. And he really does actually listen, and I think we've all been able to talk to him in one way or the other and give some input, and whether it's in a question or one of these. So I think you see that reflected in the sincerity that's on stage. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Well, and SAP also took a position on AI and jobs and AI and humans and AI versus SaaS and why SAP still matters. And those things are all really important. I think they need to do more on fleshing out like why their rich contextual data is better than what you could get from some, fast moving third party that says we can just pull it out from an API and use your SAP's data. And there's obviously some pretty big companies out there that say they can do this. So I think you need to hear more from SAP on that. But what I'd like to hear from the three of you now is we've got a couple fun days to go in Las Vegas at this show. So what I'd like to know is what questions are you going to be pursuing the next couple days? And maybe we can revisit some of this at a later time. So Bonnie, what's on your agenda? What are you looking to learn the next couple days?
Yeah, I would say AI adoption and specifics around what are customers using today. What are the results seen in those tools? And just a feel for where are things headed in terms of the AI and agentic piece of things. I would say from an HCM lens, I'm interested in hearing more about the smart recruiters addition to the success factors family and how that's going to change things, as well as potential enhancements to the business data cloud. And are there going to be other options on the table for that that sort of extend that area? So those would be, I think, my big three.
What about you guys?
You all right, Josh?
I'll go. I want to look under the covers in a few issues. One, there's a lot. We saw today some new, supply chain planning and collaboration technology, and we talked about this during the analyst thing. There's some new SKUs for products that actually mimic or overlap with existing functionality. I want to understand what customers are going to face in terms of licensing costs. Are they going to get credit for stuff they already have? How's it going to look? Because there's a lot of new stuff. This is the SAP playbook that always gets confusing. We bring out something new, and does that completely obviate what you had? What happens to the investment? So I want to look at how existing customers are going to leverage new stuff without throwing out some big investments. Number one, I think all of this we didn't hear enough about it, but underlying this whole strategy, everything we're hearing today is a partner strategy that needs to be very, very solid. We analysts had our meeting in another hotel where this huge partner conference is going on. I kind of wish I was there more in some ways, but SAP's got to fix that part of it in order for all of this to work. So I'm gonna look at those two underlying questions, and then frankly, John, what I'm going to say, business network. I just want to kind of see where that fits in and where SAP is going to leverage that capability and how they're going to articulate that. So that'll keep me busy. Oh, one last thing. I want to see how this show layout works, because and this was alluded to in our meeting, there are journeys that you can take. And we had talked to Ada Argarid about this. You can take journeys across these different silos and see how to bust a silo as an attendee. And I definitely want to check that out. I think that's going to be really interesting.
Well, I'm a CX guy, so one of the core things is to learn how SAP wants to change the impression that CRM, CX is their Cinderella product. I call it the unwanted stepdaughter for whoever doesn't get the analogy. I see some change. I see some traction in positioning it more. However, functionally, I do think that they have something that is amongst the market leading systems, just that nobody knows it or believes it, even if they knew it. Today I heard from an analyst the statement from me, SAP doesn't have a CX solution. So I'd like to
Those
learn.
analysts,
Yeah, well, luckily
those
we
pesky
disagree to
analysts,
it.
yep.
So this is part one. So C probably even help in getting that message out a little better, so that SAP actually is a considerable player in that market. The other thing that goes into what Bonnie said, the AI portion of it. So what are the problems that prevent from getting further right now, technically, not adoption wise? And what are the most promising scenarios and ways to go ahead in the short and midterm? This is part 2 and part 3 that came up actually today during Irfan's statement. So they have the intelligent applications, I think intelligent apps that how they are calling them, which are delivering considerable overlap to the business applications that they already have right now, just that they charge for them again. So, and as a customer, I'd probably prefer to not get charged twice for the same thing, just because it's delivered differently. So this is a bridge that they probably need to, well, either take or at least build and explain.
Thomas, don't bring us down to reality with licensing and pricing discussions, man.
Yeah, some values and
I just want it all to be seamless, man.
Oh.
As for me, I'll keep it short. I'd like to hear from customers. I just want a gut check from customers. I have some interviews. My SAP handlers have done a really good job. Also, SAP is one of the few vendors that I'm following right now that still does a formal press conference as part of their events. And big kudos to SAP for that, because vendors need to get in front on the record with people and answer like what they're up to. So I really appreciate knowing that is going to happen. Oh, Debraj, I need to answer your question real quick, which I will do. Sorry to make you wait so long. So those are my big things, and I want to take some of those industry tours, because that's where we're going to get a chance to see like different roles, like Josh alluded to, like in the same industry framework. So I got to make a point of getting down to the show floor. So looking forward to reporting back on all that. Maybe we will reconvene in some form and report back on what we learned. Debraj, you had a question earlier about the virtual event starting on Thursday the 9th, and I speculated, and I want to be clear that speculating, that I think this tactic is often used by vendors when they're trying to maximize in-person attendance. I don't happen to like that approach as much. I like doing a virtual event in concert with the on-the-ground event, which is something that SAP usually does. But in this case, they didn't do that. So that's why you're seeing a bunch of stuff on the 9th. I do think that it's possible that the other big keynote on Wednesday will be streamed live, but I haven't been able to verify that yet. The other keynotes are overlapping and won't be streamed to bigger audiences. So anyhow, that's kind of the setup here for the virtual event. And one other thing that vendors like about pushing the virtual event out a little bit is they can make sure all the session videos play well and all of that, because sometimes the live streams can be problematic or it's hard to get them all recorded. But I'm really a fan of like blowing the event up big time on social channels by allowing everyone to participate at the same time. But, vendors, this is going to be a shock. They don't always listen to my event feedback. I know that's shocking to hear. So anyway.
Unheard of.
Yeah. Brian, let's just wrap with your comments here. Small wins are hard. Commercials are challenging. Awareness how best to sweat their investments is lacking. Clarity on the journey, especially for smaller or highly customized customers. Brian has a ton of respect for SAP AI strategy, but many customers, it's still a long-term goal with a lot of important steps in between. That's a really good summary. Any final comments from anyone?
Thank you for doing this. This has been fun. I hope folks were listening and paying attention, found some value. I sure did.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
great shout out to the audience, right? Thank you, Shan, Giara, Brian, Thomas, when you were out there too. That was a fantastic chat, and I hope y'all enjoyed this. This is the only time we're doing this for this event, but we'll definitely do it in future SAP events as well. So thank you so much, and thanks SAP for playing along and making sure that I had the live stream all set. We had no technical problems. Can you believe that? That's
Oh.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I will almost use the S word for that, but I'm not going to because we used it too much today. But it went really well. It went
Yeah.
smooth. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.